I'll tell you my most memorable one. Episode 200, where they orchestrated this massive game show, and
a lot of people commented. They're like,
yeah,
you guys actually ate that stuff? I literally threw up.
I managed to stomach it, but I would not do it again.
Welcome to episode 301 of the Real Estate Podcast. Today, Adrian and I get to see for the first time our top 5 most viewed podcasts on YouTube. Let's go.
Welcome to the Real Estate Podcast, your go-to source for raw, unfiltered stories and expert tips. Whether you're a buyer, seller, tenant, landlord, or realtor, join us as we dive into the world of real estate.
She's not happy with it.
She doesn't like her voice.
I think it sounds great.
She's now the official voice of KT. That was Jennifer, everybody, for those of you.
Speaking of which, we should probably update our voicemail message then. I think that would be appropriate.
We have recorded it. It just hasn't been uploaded.
Good. She has the perfect voice for it, I think.
Yes.
Welcome. Episode 301 or episode 2 of...
You're giving me quite the view there.
The Real Estate Podcast. What do you want me to do? Sit with my legs crossed the whole time?
Yeah, I know it. That's why my leg was hurting from the last episode.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Just having
your leg
crossed.
was up the whole time?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that camera, I don't know how the view is, but
yeah,
it is what it is. I got to sit comfortable.
Yeah.
And this is...
If you're staring at one of our packages, we apologize.
This is much nicer than sitting at a table. I find it's more comfortable, more casual, more conducive to conversation.
Yeah.
So
I am going to have to... I do find the couch more comfortable for seating position, but still got a couple of kinks to work out.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, we'll figure it out as we go.
Episode 301.
Yeah. So in this episode, the team have put together, I don't want to call it a slideshow, but they've put together our top 5 most viewed podcasts. So we're going to take a look at those, and then we're going to discuss each one.
So we're just commenting on them?
Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, some of the topics may no longer be applicable, so we can offer our updated opinions on them.
Do you have... Well, you revealed to the audience and to me that you don't listen to our own podcast.
Correct. You seemed really disappointed or upset about it.
I am.
Yeah.
I listen to everyone.
No, I don't. Listen, I mean...
I listen to everyone because sometimes I'm like, wow, that was a great podcast. If I was a listener, I would totally listen to that and tune into the next one.
Well, the views will tell me the answers.
Oh my God. Do you okay, so
when
you might not have the answer to my question.
Okay.
But my question is, do you have a favorite podcast?
No.
That we recorded, obviously. Our podcast. Do you have a favorite episode?
No. I'll tell you my most memorable one.
Tell me.
Well, Ian... Robbie wasn't with us at the time, but Ian will be proud to know the most memorable one was episode 100. Was it 100? 200?
200?
Yep.
200. I can hear him.
Episode 200, where they orchestrated this massive game show, and it was completely off topic of the podcast, so our viewers may not have appreciated it as much as maybe we did, but a
lot of people commented. They're like,
yeah,
you guys actually ate that stuff?
Yeah, we were eating various insects.
I literally threw up.
You did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I managed to stomach it, but I would not do it again. I mean, these are things that people they're actually edible.
Well, I was the first one, I think, to eat something, and it was the ants, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I didn't, at that point, I didn't actually believe it was really ants.
I thought it was some candy made to look like bugs.
Yeah.
And
it wasn't until we saw like the crickets or something. I'm like, oh shit, this is real.
And literally, it was
insects.
A spoonful of dead ants.
Yes.
And I ate it. And as I started chewing on it, the sourness of whatever the fuck guts and it exploded in the back of my throat. And
we'll get used to it because Justin Trudeau wants us all to eat bugs.
Yeah.
So it's going to become more common in our It's going to be added to the Canadian
Good protein.
dietary
Sure, if
plan.
chicken is $8,000 a pound.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so let's get started with, so this is episode from lowest views to highest views of our most viewed videos. Here's number 5.
Number 5, 5th. I thought that was number 1.
I thought that was number 1.
This was the second time we
Oh, yes, that's
brought it
right.
up.
So number 5 for those listening is, do I need a permit to finish my basement? This is episode 208. And this is a common conversation.
Look at those handsome guys. Do you think we could work in those kind of uniforms on a daily basis?
We almost do.
Yeah, I guess so.
We're pretty cash.
Yeah.
So do I need a permit to finish my basement? This is a very common conversation we have, and more prevalent today than ever. And not even so much for basements, but basement apartments. Because housing
Everybody's finishing their basement right now.
as an apartment, or are you just meaning in general?
In general.
Well,
But more and more are doing it for rental income.
yeah. So I think during COVID, just finishing your basement in general for personal use became more valuable, and we saw that as the market changed. Houses with finished basements, the return on your investment was much greater than it was previously, assuming it was done well. And as affordability got out of hand, finished basements for personal use changed into finished basement to subsidize the income or subsidize their expenses by turning it into an apartment. And then the province implemented changes where it made it more feasible for people to do it, because most municipalities made it very hard. Certain houses didn't qualify, certain parking requirements,
Right.
Yes. Is that all we have to say about this one?
Yeah, I think more people need to understand, or people need to understand that as supply remains low in housing in general across the country, even though now there's a lot of properties available for sale, there's a lot of people that can't afford to buy. So the rental market is still pretty lean, we'll say.
Yeah.
The demand is going to continuously be there with new immigrants, and people are starting to recognize that. So across the GTA, when affordability is an issue, supplementary income is important to a lot of people's purchasing decision, and finishing the basement is becoming a part of that, as you said, as an apartment, as a rental.
Yeah. And
So
unless
if you're doing that, obviously, go get permits.
yeah, unless you're planning to shortcut, then whatever.
And there's a lot
But
of
you
people.
shouldn't.
You see did you see Robin shared a TikTok with us? Some agent walking around the basement
Oh yeah.
in a
It was horrible.
basement apartment in Brampton.
Oh, was that locally?
Yeah, in Brampton.
Oh wow, I didn't catch that part.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the mechanical room was also the laundry room, where the dryer door wouldn't even open more than a few inches.
No, it was,
and it was a washroom.
and it was a washroom where the toilet was
elevated on a platform,
platform,
because they didn't want to dig down and do plumbing properly.
on a platform that was in a triangle. So to get to the washer dryer, you had to step up on this triangle platform where the toilet is, and then step down into
And your feet had to probably be propped up on the water heater.
And the door to the dryer doesn't even fully open because it was brutal. And we see a lot of that. We see a lot of that, especially in Peel region, even a little bit in Hamilton region, not as much in Halton.
Yeah.
Like I find in Oakville, Milton, Burlington, that people are spending a little bit more money. They're a little bit more educated on the process. They don't want a shortcut.
Well, and the best advice I can give people based on this with regards to finishing it as an apartment, permits aside, is you will attract tenants of equal quality to the
Quality of your basement.
Your basement apartment.
Yeah.
So if you're shortcutting the process and making it uncomfortable, unattractive, unappealing space, you're going to get shitty tenants.
Yeah.
So do it right and you'll get good tenants.
Don't do shit work and expect that you're going to get a 700 plus credit score.
Right.
And somebody with stable income, somebody that's clean. Right.
Yeah. Well, and we see it all the time. And with Renty, our property management company, we have
my Renty.
We're checking out rentals all the time, and we can see very consistently the nice places have nice tenants. The dirty, dingy places have dirty, dingy tenants, and they're high maintenance.
I wonder if we should get a Renty sign like this for that side of the room.
Just to do like off
the
cuff videos.
Little promotion.
Yeah.
Anyway, so do I need a permit to finish my basement? No, you don't need it.
On that one though, there was one, I remember there's one comment, a negative comment in terms of concern. The concern with getting a permit is that it would trigger a new assessment and the property taxes would go up, which is true. It would cause the municipality would know that it's been done and that would trigger a reassessment, but it's going to be minimal. It's not going to be huge.
And it also would trigger just a higher resale value.
Well, that's it.
So, yeah. Your home is worth more.
Yeah. Video number 4.
You know, in the fall and winter
oh, this is the actual video
where people do a lot of their planning and purchasing and all of that for renovations. They prepare or start getting renos done. A lot of
especially interior stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're talking today office. About
you
do's
miss
and
it?
don'ts.
No. Yeah.
What to do, what not to do
with regards to
finishing your basement.
Right.
And Ian had a question. Should you bother with permits when finishing your basement? So we're going to answer that today too.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Man, a few words. All right, number 4.
Can you get out of a buyer representation agreement?
Ooh, this is one of the top 5. Interesting.
Ooh.
I mean, how many times? How many?
Wait,
let's watch the video. Let's watch the video.
To answer the question of that person on Facebook again, no. And to correct many of the people that responded, no, you cannot. Don't listen to the people on Facebook. Be very cautious of who you listen to on Facebook because everybody's got an opinion.
They look like a mountain
Most
climber.
of them are idiots. Honestly,
was this a solo podcast?
If somebody responds to you, take it with a grain of salt.
I think so.
The only one
there was 1 or 2.
Yeah, I did during COVID, I did one Zoom recording.
Yeah, that's what I was doing here
without you, and you did one without me.
Yeah, and I made it to the top 5.
Wow,
I feel proud.
all the fellow mountain climbers.
Yeah. So can you flip back to the original slide? Just refresh my memory. Can you get out of a buyer's representation agreement? Yeah. I mean, it's interesting that would be among the top. I mean, obviously, it's not surprising, I suppose, because
there are a ton of people that get hoodwinked.
There are very much so.
They get conned. They don't know what they're signing. They signed the representation agreement as a part of an offer process, and they don't realize that they've just signed a 6-month contract with a realtor that they have no intentions or desire to work with in the long term.
Or the agent, or maybe they knowingly they signed an agreement, and then came to realize that the agent wasn't a good fit, or wasn't putting in the effort that they were expecting, or just wasn't working out for whatever reason. And we've had calls like that where people want our help, whether it's buying or selling, but they're already under contract. And just so people know, if you're already under contract with an agent, you can't talk. No other agents can talk to you. There's you can't get comfortable in either chair.
No, I'm just trying to figure my shit out over here. Leave me alone.
So yeah, I had a conversation with someone recently who didn't hire us to sell his house, hired somebody else. We were in one of the options. He told me, he thinks I'm a better buyer's agent. Anyway, so he hired somebody else.
That house is still for sale, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
Like 8 months, 9 months later.
Yeah. And he saw we sold one of a similar price point, and he messaged me and asked what it sold for, and I told him the price, but I also said, because you're under contract, I can't chat anymore, and that's true. So, you have to be very selective and do your due diligence when you choose who you're going to sign up with, whether you're buying or selling or renting or whatever it is, because you are locked in with them. And if they don't agree to cancel, mutually release you from that agreement.
It's happened to me a lot where somebody calls me and they're currently under contract. It happens specifically with a lot of sellers, where a seller has their home listed for sale. They're not happy with the result. They call and they're like, can you help us? We've seen your home that has sold. Looks like you guys do a great job. We follow you on social. We just decided to go with one of our friends or whatever. We can't talk to you.
So what would your advice be for real estate agents that get those phone calls? Like, I never know, because it's a thin line. Like, do you just hang up on them, or do you say, hey, as long as you're under contract with another agent, I can't talk to you, wink, wink, and you wait and leave it at that?
Technically, there is actually a gray area, because at what point is that a wink, wink, right? Because if you say, as long as you're under contract, I can't say anything to you.
Versus the complete opposite, where you encourage them to sort it out with their agent. Go talk to your agent and see, if you can rectify the problems, or maybe speak with the manager of the office and see if there's another agent that can help you.
That is usually part of my answer, because they are under contract. Obviously, they hired that person to complete a job. And I believe if I was in that agent's shoes, that I would appreciate the clients coming to me and saying, I'm not happy. What can we do here? So my first thing is I say, listen, you need to speak to your agent. You're under contract with them. Speak to the brokerage. You're under contract with them. I can't speak to you because you're under contract with them. That's where the conversation goes.
Yeah, that's similar to me. I usually...
And it ends there.
Yeah.
Because usually they try and drag out that conversation and get more information. Well, how much do you think I'm overpriced? That always comes up. Or do you include staging? And listen, folks, can't have this conversation.
But check out my website.
Do you listen to our podcast?
Yeah.
We talk. Conveniently, we talked about this on episode 267. Why don't you go check it out? No. Okay.
Numero 3. Hey, look at that. Were they our first guests?
No. Don't think so.
Number 27? I think that's
number 27? That was that long ago, eh? Wow. So
we all look very young.
LionsValley and Pro Results.
Replacing Kitec in your house with ProResultsPlumbing and LionsValley Carpentry. Actually, LionsValley Carpentry did the renovation at an upcoming listing we have going on the market next week in Burlington.
Cool.
Yeah, in the Head Forest neighborhood.
What's his name?
Joel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Rod from
I'm horrible
Pro
with names.
Did
I get that
actually,
right?
Yeah.
Wow. That was impressive.
Maybe because you're getting ready for your new listing.
Could be.
They do nice work.
Yeah, they do. The house looks great. I'm excited to get it up on the market. It's being staged today, actually, and it'll be
on the market when this
airs. Yeah, so check it out.
Well, do you want to give the address a shout out, or you can't because it's coming? Oh, you can.
No, paperwork's not signed.
Okay.
Visit KormendyTrott.com/properties.
Let's see the video.
Hey guys, what's up? Thanks for joining us today. Today on episode 27 of KT Confidential.
Hang on, pause it for a second.
Look at the evolution of this.
I was just gonna say,
this might have been because we didn't.
If you didn't watch episode 300, we talked about the evolution of our podcast, which is now called the Real Estate Podcast. But when we started it, and for 299 episodes, it was KT Confidential. And when we started,
hey
look
guys,
at all the gear.
Thanks for joining us
on
today.
The table,
today
on our
episode
office
27 of KT Confidential. We've got Rod and Joel. Rod from Pro Results Plumbing and Joel from LionsValley Carpentry. Thanks for coming, guys.
Thanks for having us.
First plumber and carpenter on the podcast.
Right.
Perfect.
Excited to be here.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about Kitec before we started recording. and I think the vast majority of the population probably know nothing about it. Can you explain just, I guess, the basics of what it is and who might be affected?
Sure. It's it came out in 1995, and it was kind of the next thing from copper. So it was flexible piping. It was a lot cheaper than copper. It was a lot easier to install. It was great, but again, it failed.
Yeah.
So it got recalled in 2007. So that's when basically everybody stopped installing it.
Okay, let's talk about
manufacturing
it.
Yeah,
everything.
okay. I can only assume that the reason this is on the list third, nevertheless, even, is because of how prominent it has become in the industry and very common topic.
Well, you'll see now in a lot of agreements of purchase and sale, especially in the province of Ontario, that there are many Schedule A's that have clauses specifically on Kitec plumbing.
Yeah.
A lot of condos, especially.
Yeah, we sold
Short-
one not long ago on Walker's Line in Burlington.
Yeah.
That the whole building was constructed that way.
Mid-rise, you have to be. So anything that was constructed from,
What you said, 95?
even 93, 94, I'd be checking, and well into the early 2000s. So a lot of newer Milton, if that's newer now, 20 years
Was
ago.
for us at the time.
It was, yeah. And newer Oakville, newer Burlington. There was a lot of Kitec plumbing. And what happened was when these places were these builders were constructing these homes with the Kitec plumbing, such as, I won't mention any names, but some of the larger builders, they actually purchased stock of this plumbing and used it for subsequent years until they had no more inventory of it.
Yeah.
So even though it was stopped, Kitec was no longer manufactured, in some cases it was still being installed in some homes.
Yeah.
And what happens is it's not the plumbing that fails, it's the actual fittings between the pieces of plumbing, between the pipes. And over time, they fail and they burst and they leak and they're an issue. And most insurance companies now won't insure a home with Kitec plumbing. So you have,
Or they won't insure
the plumbing portion.
Yeah, if there's damage as a result of
Right.
failure of the system, then you're
Which, if you're going to
on your
have
own.
insurance on your home, the plumbing component is
Among
probably
the
the
most-
number one
yes.
component that you want to get insurance on, the plumbing and the electrical.
Yeah. So
Which, if you're finishing your basement, is also to note, if you didn't get a permit, just going back to number 5, if you didn't get a permit and something happens due to the plumbing or electrical, there's no permits, your basement was finished, your insurance company might have something to say about that if you're trying to make a claim.
well, and these guys, I mean, they do all types of plumbing related jobs, but Kitec keeps them very busy. I'm sure it does to this day even, but you do want somebody who knows what they're doing, and ProResults definitely does, because it's a huge job, a big undertaking, replacing all of the plumbing in a property, and they're relatively non-invasive in the way that they tackle it. And one, it saves money, saves time, and it's just smart to hire someone who really knows what they're doing when it's such a big task.
So we're lucky enough that Rod, because of our friendship, gave us his cell phone number, to the point where if we need any business stuff, we don't really take advantage of it too often. And most of the business that we give ProResults is through the company channel. But one time, this was probably 3 years ago now, I had an issue come up and I called him on his cell to troubleshoot with me. I had an offer in with a client. We bought a 3-story village home here in Milton, in the Harrison neighborhood. Harrison really started developing in maybe
It was like
2008,
I was like 5.
2000, whatever.
Anyways, around there.
Anyways, so we had home inspection, and home inspector said, I need to look a little bit closer at the plumbing. Brought his ladder in and started looking, and sure enough, there was Kitec plumbing. Now, some of it had been replaced, so maybe the homeowner that did, because there were some renovations in the kitchen and certain areas, so maybe they replaced enough just so it wouldn't be totally visible.
Or just didn't want to front the bill to do the whole house.
Maybe.
Right.
Whatever
And
it was.
willing to take the
it
risk.
had Kitec plumbing. So this would have been a 1,300 square foot, 3-story townhouse. Now those townhomes are back to back, and this one was an inside unit. So you're protected on, you have neighbors adjoined on both sides and the back.
Mm-hmm.
So it does make it trickier because all the plumbing is just going up and down, and you got to go through floors and all this. But anyways, it would have been about $12,000 to do that replacement. But better.
And knowing you negotiated it off the price.
Client wasn't comfortable. We walked away from the deal.
Okay. That works too.
And part of that not being comfortable is when, and I called Rod during the home inspection because I knew we had a very short window. Our home inspection clause, I believe, was a 3-day inspection condition. And this was probably day 3. So our window was very short, which I never do. I never have the home inspection on the last day that the inspection condition expires.
Yeah. No,
but we were in multiple offers, and yeah, we needed time. We didn't have any time. So while we were there, we were kind of looking at all of the plumbing, and to get to some of it, you would have had to rip up, like it was a big project. And yeah, the buyer wasn't comfortable because the place was vacant and it was a short closing to accommodate the seller. So it wouldn't have been done in time. And then
obviously there's other options out there.
There were other options, and they ended up with something that they were happier with anyways.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an expensive replacement, but it's something everybody needs to be cognizant of. The fact that it's
floods are more expensive.
The fact that it's number 3, and well, it is 270 weeks old, so over 5 years ago. But the fact that it's number 3 means that people are wondering, did we do a blog on Kitec plumbing? That would be a good one.
I imagine.
Well, we're going to have Rod and Elizabeth from Pro Results back on the podcast. I'm sure. I know they'll come on again. They want to come on, and they've always got some interesting stories. Plumbers always have some interesting stories.
Oh, I'm sure.
Maybe we'll have a shot at tequila before we shoot that one. Have we ever had any drinks
on the podcast?
On the podcast or
No.
before the podcast?
No.
Never.
No, I'm sure we have.
Really?
Yeah. 100%.
Definitely not on.
I don't know. Maybe. I think we have.
I don't think so. We're gonna have to look back.
Okay.
I'm willing to bet. I'm not betting you a Johnny Walker Blue again, though.
No, I don't know. I remember very clearly having a drink. It could have been before. It could have been on. I don't remember. But there's been a drink in there somewhere.
I don't. I think we've done everyone totally sober.
Well, I don't think we were drunk or even tipsy. Even if we did.
Well, it takes a lot to get either one of us drunk or tipsy.
Yeah. Not me so much these days. I'm not drinking as much.
Right.
All right.
At least that's what you're telling the public.
And myself. Number 2. Illegal basement apartments, which ties back to the
number 5.
The number 5. And we discussed this one. We will run the clip. Maybe we'll see what we talked about here.
Like, I don't understand. People go into Facebook, local Facebook
Another COVID
pages and
video.
type in a question.
Not necessarily.
And then, 3 weeks later, they have
it's
5,000 answers from
COVID
unqualified
video.
people.
I thought you meant
You take that
Solo.
same question, drop
No.
it into Google search. You will get a direct link to your local municipal web page, to the exact page, even the exact PDF document, even the
You look a lot
exact page
younger.
within a PDF document
Do I?
telling you exactly what's required. So
Maybe
do
the
your damn due diligence.
shitty
It's not
video
hard.
is acting as a filter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so illegal basement apartments, again, we see a lot of it. Funny enough, so before we recorded this, you and I were chatting. A lot of builders now are building new homes with options of finishing them as apartments.
Are they
or
offering
as
it?
secondary.
Are they offering to
they're-
actually finish it as an apartment?
Yes. And they're also planning the unfinished basements for the future development of basement apartments. So you're getting the side separate entrance already. You're getting different parking arrangements. Like now there's parking in the back of the home and weird things that they're doing to try and accommodate on smaller lots, especially. And it's pretty interesting. Like anyway, don't go down the route of illegal basement apartments. Don't have an apartment in your basement that isn't, like, God forbid something happens.
Mm-hmm.
What happened?
Well, and it has. I posted stories on my TikTok account about there was one in Brampton, one in Hamilton. This is all in the same year. I don't remember if it was last year or the year before, but fatalities, basement occupants died. I don't know if it was related to the status of the basement apartment, but I imagine in both cases, I'd say highly probable that they were not legal.
Yeah.
So that or, other avoidable things like smoke detectors weren't working properly or whatever it was. But it's not nice to be cooped up in a basement apartment with no proper egress.
And every municipality has different requirements. And it's not just like a egress window as an example. There's other things. There's a lot of fireproofing that has to happen.
Yeah. Well, now they require sprinkler heads in mechanical rooms, and the mechanical rooms have to be drywalled, and fire separation between different things has to be adequate. Doors have to be a certain degree
self-closing
of
and
self-closing
certain. Yeah. There's a long list of stuff.
Yeah. And it's more expensive, but again, it's more expensive if something goes wrong. Even if a neighbor complains.
It's like getting onto a cruise ship and not having any life jackets.
Yeah. If a neighbor complains about your basement apartment tenant because they just don't like them, they don't even know if the basement is legal or not. They complain about them because they're noisy, they have a loud car, and they leave at 5:00 in the morning every day. So they report them to the municipality. The municipality goes and finds out the basement is not permitted. And now what are you doing as a landlord? As a landlord, you can't keep the tenant there. You're going to be fined by the municipality. The landlord and tenant board is going to be after you. It's just going to be a very messy situation.
Yep. Don't do it.
Number 1.
Bum, 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 bum. Buying new construction homes, part 1. What to upgrade and home inspection.
Interesting. I didn't know this one was ahead of the other one.
Well, this is the podcast, not our videos.
Yeah, so this is not all.
This is our
videos.
number 1 viewed podcast, episode 85. Let's watch the clip.
And again, during COVID. I mean,
like,
most of these were during COVID.
You own a brand new car and
the audio.
The side mirror doesn't work. You're not going to take it back to the dealer and get it fixed? Of course.
Right.
So
yeah, you should take advantage of the warranties that are there for you. They've been paid for, and you paid for them.
I still listen to
cost,
podcasts
so
that have this kind of audio.
you pay for that Terry on warranty registration. So
and you're worried about filler
spend an
words.
extra $500 or so and get a home inspection.
If you listened to our podcast, you would know
return
why.
on your investment. And if it isn't, then at least you got the peace of mind that you got a well-built house.
Yeah.
So I still don't understand what we were talking about.
No, I don't know how the video relates to the. Can we see the title again? Buying new construction homes, part 1. What to upgrade and home inspections.
All right. Well, there's 2 components to that. So I'm assuming we were speaking about having a home inspection on a new construction home.
And claiming things under warranty.
And claiming things under warranty. We were talking about Terry on. So I had a home inspection when I bought my new home 13 years ago.
Yes. Well, you closed on it 13.
Closed on it 13 years
Bought
ago.
it 13 and a half years ago, almost 14 years
14
ago.
years ago. Thanks for correcting me, Captain Obvious. So you didn't. I did.
No, yeah.
Now knowing what you know about homes or home inspections, well, now I probably wouldn't, because I can do a home inspection myself. I know enough to do it. Back then I didn't. It was before we were in the business. But would you recommend the average?
Yeah, I think the average
homeowner,
person, I think you easily get the money out of it. What's it going to cost you? $500 bucks, maybe?
$600, yeah.
And, you know, you call one electrician in, and you're almost $500 for an average job. One
Right.
plumber in.
Yeah.
Right? You need new insulation in the attic, you're at least $1,000.
Can I put my feet up on this thing?
I think it's fine. Your shoes happen to be clean.
Yeah, they're brand. It's the first time I'm busting out these shoes.
They're very nice. I like the color.
Thanks.
I mean, I think it makes sense why this is the number one most viewed podcast with, well, it's changed now. New construction is down significantly, but there's still new construction happening all the time. And
Builders are sneaky too.
how so?
Because they got to meet deadlines. So sometimes corners are cut in order to meet deadlines. So you got to be careful, right?
I wouldn't
And-
call them out on that.
Yeah, I am. So
I wouldn't say the builder. I would say the contractors.
Well,
Builders maybe have no idea that is happening.
sometimes, well, it depends who the builder is, because the builder, sometimes it's their contract or their actual employees.
Mhm.
Some builders subcontracting, and the subcontractors might be shortcutting because it's Friday and they want to go home. It's a long weekend and the house has
Or the
got to be
strippers
done.
arrived.
Oh yeah, yeah. I should play a clip of the.
Yeah. But I think this is probably more prevalent now than it ever was before because of affordability,
Yeah,
right? So house
Yeah.
prices in general are very high, and
Yep.
a lot of people are struggling to be able to afford to buy a house, let alone the upgrades associated with them.
yeah. This is stupid. This
So,
is awkward with this thing.
There
here.
are certain upgrades nowadays, and
It's
even
not meant
back
for your
then,
arm.
that made more sense to do afterwards or do on your own. But there are still upgrades that are just not possible to do afterwards.
So in today's market, right now, if you were buying a new home, brand new with the builder,
Mhm.
and it's going in through the construction process over the next year, you get possession sometime in 12 months.
Mhm.
What would you upgrade and what wouldn't you?
I would do. I would make sure I have at least 9-foot ceilings in the basement.
Which means you probably have 9 and 10 foot ceilings on the other floors.
Yeah, I'm not overly sold on 10-foot. I think it's a bit excessive.
I don't.
You don't? I
No.
don't know. I'm not overly
In fact,
sold.
I think 5 to 10 years from now, 9-foot ceilings feels like 8-foot ceilings.
You
did.
say that,
Yeah.
but 10-foot ceilings were a thing back in 100 years ago. Look at these Victorian century homes.
And I think they're awesome today.
Yeah, but then they went down, and then it'll go back up. Like, who knows what the reasons are? It could be
Well, it went down
affordability.
for cost.
Affordability
Yeah.
brings it back down to 7 feet.
7 feet.
Yeah, if you're if you're tall, good luck. You got to pay big premium for 8-foot ceilings.
I don't think it'll ever go back to 8 or below.
I don't know if it was never below, except for
There's
a
nothing being
cottage.
built with 8 foot right now. Nothing.
No, for sure. I would do maybe 10 foot on the ground floor. I wouldn't spend a lot of money on 10-foot.
We always say upgrade the unchangeable stuff. So obviously you
Yeah.
can't increase the
anything
height of your ceiling
anything
later.
that involved reconfiguration of rooms. So if I wanted a bigger ensuite, and that meant altering the size of a walk-in closet or something to accommodate it, I would do that before.
Yeah.
If that feature appealed to me, because to start moving walls around sometimes it's really not feasible because you may have HVAC or electrical or plumbing
Right.
that just makes it too cost prohibitive. And I would do exterior upgrades if I really didn't like the look of a particular finishing. Like if it was all brick and it was just kind of bland, I might change it to something I felt was more appealing. But even that's interesting because we've had many houses where we sold the basic entry model elevation that was just siding and a little bit of stone versus the exact same model that had the upgraded French Chateau model that was, stone stucco and was a big premium, tens of thousands of dollars, and ours sold for more. And
you don't get elevation upgrades back unless it's something like super premium and you're in a higher end market.
If you're in a higher end home, there's certain expectations.
Yeah.
But for average homes,
although I will say there are buyers still out there that are a little old school and do not want a home with siding.
That always surprises me. I had that call when we had that listing on Rego, and I was chatting with an agent, and he said his clients really liked it, but they don't want a house with siding.
Yeah. What, are you going to live there for 75 years?
And well, that's my point. I always, that even is the argument is with brick, you have to redo the pointing and like that stuff crumbles and comes out. You have to maintain it.
Yeah.
It doesn't last
forever. You got to maintain everything.
In fact, siding's probably better from the perspective of it's easier to change.
There's nothing in your home, inside or outside, that has zero maintenance. Right. Everything requires maintenance.
There's a life
even if it says it's no maintenance, there's still maintenance.
Yeah, you may not. Yeah, 100%.
You think turf instead of grass needs no maintenance? You think fake trees need no maintenance? It all needs maintenance.
Yeah. So the only reason I would do that is if I didn't like it, because I want to come home to a house you're excited to come home to.
Yeah.
That's really it. I would redo all my floors myself. Not myself. I would hire out, redo all my floors, my stairs. I'd replace my whole kitchen.
This is where I'll debate you maybe on it. Yeah, trim is easy. Tiles. If there are areas where the builder is already installing tile, it might be worth upgrading with them, because to break up the tile, clean up the area, and then retile.
Cheaper still afterwards, for sure.
Well, I don't know. And that depends on the cost and the options.
That's the big
thing.
So
it depends on what options you have and how much they cost, of course.
Yeah.
And
then you can say custom, right? Like that's custom.
Everything's
builder
custom.
Upgrades. This is custom.
Technically, even if you're buying a home from a mass production builder, it's still kind of custom.
It's not custom if you choose a package A, B, or C, because there's other people that chose the same thing.
How many people stay within the given packages?
You have to.
In condos, maybe, not in the average detached home.
Well, you're still choosing from a limited supply.
Right.
So I just say, and I'm just joking about selling it as custom, because I don't necessarily think that, well, you're not going to convince anybody that that's adding value just by saying that. But there's so many things you can do. And I think at a minimum, you'll pay the same and have something you're happier with, as long as you can live through the inconvenience of it and you have the means to pay for it.
What about fireplace? Would you do that with the builder?
No, especially not, because I've seen so many nice fireplaces. Like my brother did one in one of his houses that was just grand, and it was like really nice stonework and huge mantle, and the hearth was stunning, and it was a really big fireplace. And I love that fireplace, and no builder would come close to replicating that.
Wood fire?
No, but I was in a house not long ago, and they had a beautiful fireplace. Similar.
Hang on, but going back to your brother's.
Yes. His was gas.
So it was gas.
His was gas, yes.
But was there a fireplace there?
No.
So they installed it from scratch?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. But I was in one. I love wood fireplaces. Not as convenient, but they're great. I was in one where it had a slide down glass cover. So that was kind of neat. Made it feel like a traditional, more modern fireplace, but it's still burned wood. But I would actually get a wood stove, one of those more traditional, newer ones, because they're super efficient and they can be an extremely efficient heat source and they look cool. And I like the ambiance of that.
Maybe for a basement.
No. Well, my friend in Edmonton, Phil, he has one in his house. So he has a net zero home. So it's, I don't think it's not geothermal. It's a heat pump system. They have solar and he has this wood burning stove in there. And it just makes for a very efficient home.
So upgrade or not to upgrade, basically you would upgrade the ceilings and that's it.
No, and the ceiling and layout. And the exterior if I wasn't happy with it.
When it comes to the layout, though, there aren't usually too many options because then it could need architects involved or engineers involved.
They have usually standard builder changes. Like most of them do. Like in my house, I could have opted for a bigger ensuite.
But I see what you're saying. Alternative layouts.
Correct.
Not modifying the floor plan.
No, some builders will. But
some builders might. Depends on
the bigger builders. Usually, you have a selection of options,
what walls, and what you're talking about. Yeah. I'm probably right there with you.
Yeah,
depends on the cost and the options, though, because sometimes it can be a convenience factor more than anything. I have clients that they purchased brand new homes, they upgraded a shit ton of stuff, and they know that they're getting hosed on the pricing, but it was a convenience thing. They wanted to move in with it being done. They liked the selections. So they upgraded things like kitchen cabinetry. So they
like the selections, but they don't know what options they're missing out on, is what I would say.
Or they didn't care. They liked in what they selected enough that the convenience made sense. If I can have this and it can be done on closing versus having to source it and then having it replaced and going through the muck of all of that, because it's not fun. Doesn't matter. The only thing that would be easy to change when you move into a brand new home, lighting, appliances,
smooth ceilings.
hardware.
I would do smooth ceilings.
With the builder?
Yes.
Yeah. That's actually a really good one. If it doesn't have smooth ceilings, and that is an option. So whether it's a California knockdown ceiling or a stucco or a stupple ceiling, getting that smoothed out, because then it's covered under the Terry on warranty and they've got to deliver a good product, and it's hard as hell to get a nice finish and make sure there's no tape lines, no screws, pops, all of those things. That's a good one.
I would agree.
Especially if you're getting the higher ceilings.
Yes.
Like if you're getting 10-foot ceilings.
You'll pay big bucks to get that done afterwards, and it's very messy. So once you get your stuff in there, it's very not fun messy to do.
Yeah. Yeah, anything that would create a lot of dust. Yeah, for sure. So there you go. That was some good ones. I had
no idea this was number one.
Episode 85. Part 1. What's part 2?
I wonder how they compare.
That must be episode 86. I'll have to go and watch it or listen to it now. Yeah. I'll play it loud enough so you can listen too.
All right.
See you next week.
See ya.
Okay, bye. Hey, would love to know what your favorite of the top 5 most viewed podcasts are. Leave us a comment. Let us know. And if you don't already subscribe or follow us, please do us a favor. Subscribe, follow wherever you watch or listen. We'd really appreciate it. We'll see you next week.